emergency.
Welcome back to That Wee Wee Show, a podcast where we watch and discuss episodes of the ABC show 911. I'm Bex.
I'm Alice.
And I'm Ellen.
Thank you to everyone who has listened to our episodes so far, shared our social media posts, and rated us on Spotify and or Apple Podcasts. We really appreciate it.
Last week on 911, the 118 rescued some people from traps while dealing with their own. Hen told Eva to scram, Athena got kinky, Chim reenacted Die Hard, and Buck made the decision to support Abby with her mother right before Patricia passes overnight.
Yes, so many traps. In this episode, we are going to discuss the season 1 finale, episode 10 of season 1. It's a shame it's only a short season, but it is good for us in a way because it means we're at the end of the season and we get to go to second season. But this episode is titled A Whole New You, and it aired March 21st, 2018, and the official summary goes like this. The first responders take calls to help an unusual domestic disturbance, a death at a psychic's, and a horrific motorcycle crash. Meanwhile, Bobby dips his toe into the dating pool, Abby takes a walk down memory lane, Buck is confronted by his past actions, and Athena tries to start her new life. And in this episode, just some content warnings. We have a man who is alive when an autopsy is about to be performed. We have a decomposing corpse. We have mortuary processes going on. We have extreme gore involving a motorcycle accident, and we have a funeral. I guess at this point we can add that this episode was actually written by the showrunners of the whole of season 1, Ryan Murphy, Tim Minear, and Brad Valchuk, who I assume also wrote the first episode, probably.
They wrote like the first 4 episodes of the season.
Okay.
So they were very heavily involved in season 1. And Bradley Buecker, who directed this episode, also directed like at least the first 4 episodes of the season. So I think it's kind of fitting that they've come back to sort of round off the season, put it to bed before they move on to the second one.
Yeah, we're back.
That makes sense because this episode did feel like the early ones.
It was better, right?
Yeah.
There was
but we can talk about that in our wrap up. I think we can have a look at the patterns and the production.
Yes, definitely.
All right. So this episode, the finale. So this is a whole new you. So everything, it's another one of those ones where the theme will slap you in the face a dozen times. Everything in this episode is about being a new person. They even say,
yes,
I felt like a completely new person at least 3 times, potentially more. But the reason that Abby is a whole new person is because she's at Patricia's funeral. And she, in a way, like in episode 1, we had Abby with a voiceover right at the start, and a few other episodes as well, actually. And we're starting this episode as well with Abby giving a voiceover about who are you? Are you the same person you've always been? And she's not sure. But she and Buck arrive back to her empty apartment, and she puts things back the way they were in her living room or in her dining room, whatever the room that Patricia had been using as her bedroom, basically.
I think it was the dining room. But yeah, they walk in after the funeral and Abby is immediately springs into action. She gets, I'm guessing the company that they rented the medical grade bed from to come and remove the bed. Buck is going through all of the medications and putting them away. Helping Abby put the dining room table back in the middle of the room so that it looks like a dining room again, not Patricia's bedroom.
Yeah, it's very, very sad.
And then Abby sort of looks around the room and she's pleased with how it looks, but then bursts into tears because it's her dining room again. It's not her mother's bedroom.
Yeah, and Buck just running to comfort her is just the sweetest. Like, he made the choice just recently to, jump in with Abby.
Yeah, poor Buck. I mean, he made the decision, yes, I'm going to support this woman through this through caring for her mother, and now he's been thrown completely in the deep end because now he's dealing with a woman who is dealing with the grief of losing her mother.
Yeah.
And I think he's also trying to deal with his own grief, because I think this is probably the first person that Buck has ever known who has died. He feels like he's a little bit conflicted about how he feels about that.
Yeah, like he's dealt with it with his job, but this is so personal. And
this is somebody that he knew and that he's had conversations with and he's hung out with. And
he's had dinner with, yeah.
Yeah. We kind of forget how young Buck is sometimes.
Little baby.
Yeah, so that's the title card. But after that, we do have a bit of a whiplash moment right in the start, because from this very heartfelt, sad kind of embrace, we go straight to a 911 call where a lady, like, it's not Abby who answers the phone, which is good because, I'm keeping track of these things now.
Yeah. Yeah. So
the woman says, in a British accent, "Help, my husband's going mental. I've locked myself in the loo." I was just like, what the hell?
I think we're going to have to, like, we're taking shots every time somebody says, like, the episode title. I think in this particular scene, we're going to need to take a shot every time this woman says something that is so stereotypically British that it's ridiculous.
So funny. Like, so this 911 call is sort of intercut with a second 911 call, which is actually her husband ringing as well.
And it's really interesting because her 911 call, the on-screen indicator is red lines. But when we cut to her husband calling 911, he gets blue lines on the screen.
Yeah,
and as they cut backwards and forwards between the husband, who is David, and the woman who is Diane, the two lines start to merge. Yeah. Until we get to the point where both of them say the same thing. So Diane is calling because her husband is going crazy, and we can hear him banging at the door.
He's acting bonkers. Break it down. Yeah.
Yeah. David is calling because there's something wrong with his wife. She's acting crazy, and she's thrown a glass photo frame at his head. Both 911 operators are trying to tell them to calm down, and then they both say, and their lines merge until we get this purple line on the screen. It's like it's like she, it's like they are a different person.
A completely different person. And she's, like, she does a great job of being like she might actually be British, I don't know the actress, but she's doing a good job of being an American person doing a British accent. But she actually sounds like a British person doing a British accent. But, David is saying, "I will break down this door." And she goes, "Bloody hell, go away." It's just really... I'm sort of watching through this bit going, is she serious? Like, is this how they think that British people talk? Because
I really want to know if Ryan or any of the showrunners went to Oliver and went, "Hey, how can we make this actress sound so completely over the top British?"
Yeah.
Or whether
he's
because
actually British, isn't he? I mean, I hope
yes,
they did.
he is, but he's not in this scene, so he wasn't on set that day. So did he watch this episode live and just go like, "Bloody hell, what are they doing?"
I hope so. Yeah, so they're having a fight through the bathroom door, and Athena comes in and, tells him to put his hands in the air, and he's like, "Oh, good, you're here." But then she starts handcuffing him, and he's like, "What the hell? I didn't do anything."
She's not here for to help.
No.
Not in the way he thinks, anyway.
Yeah, he's got like this like big cut on his forehead, and she's just arresting him, and he's just like, no, like, there's something wrong with my wife.
So they get David out of the house, and Athena goes to the bathroom, reassures Diane, "Look, your husband is gone, you can come out." And she very cautiously opens the door and peers out to make sure Athena's not tricking her, and then comes out. And tells Athena that her husband was being absolutely bonkers. I mean, we get into an argy-bargy every fortnight or so. He'll go spare and do his nut, but he never goes completely mad. Massive hiccup.
Yep.
And she's continually hiccuping through this scene.
Yeah, and she says something about waking up at 9:30 and had a spot of tea, and at that point I was like, no, this is definitely not real. Like, something is going on here. because
But the
that's just
key
too
point
much.
there, the key point is that she woke up at 9:30 with a migraine.
Yeah.
And that is important for later. But for now, David is chilling in the stairwell with his LAPD minder when Bobby and Chim arrive. I don't know whether they've been called for Diane or for David, but they decide they're going to look after David first because he's got a quite obvious open wound on his forehead. And while Chim is examining, says that it's not that bad, a couple of stitches, Diane appears at the top of the stairs and sort of looks over and says, "David, the bobbies want to know if I want to press charges." I'm like, oh my god, they don't call them bobbies.
The bobbies.
Um,
And yeah, David just keeps insisting there's something wrong with there's something wrong with my wife, there's something wrong with my wife. And Athena's like, Diane, you don't have to decide right now. And David's just like, no, you don't understand. She's not British.
She's not British.
And I don't know why it took him this long to just say
why didn't
she's
you
not
just say
British. Like,
Just say that first. Would have solved a lot of
Specifically-
confusion.
She's never been to England. The closest she's ever been to England is binge watching Downton Abbey episodes.
Yeah, which maybe explains some of the archaic
Well, yeah,
kind
at
of
that
language, I guess.
the proper,
Like, at that point, I kind of sympathise with her because, one of my autistic superpowers is you put me in a situation where I'm hearing an accent too much and I will pick up on that accent. So,
Oh,
yeah.
I
do the
mirror
same thing.
every accent. Yeah.
Yeah, so if I've been binge watching Bridgerton or Downton Abbey, I end up sounding like, Penelope Fairweather or something like that.
I fully had a week off work once, and all I did that entire week was binge watch like British TV shows, and was talking to my British friends, and I actually forgot what my accent was and had to call my dad to like fix it.
The most confusing year of my life was when I worked in an office and we had a Swede, a Brit, and a Kiwi.
Oh no.
Well, that sounds like
I
a
was all
joke.
over the shop. My accent was all over the shop. It was ridiculous.
And it's so hard to explain to people, like, I'm so sorry, I'm not mocking you. My brain is
Yes.
just really, like, it just does this.
Apparently, it's like our brain's way, because part of being neurodivergent is we feel other. And so we do everything we can to try and fit in. And our brain goes, oh, we're in this situation where everyone sounds like this. We had better sound like this in order to fit in too.
Yeah, like, this
Yeah.
is fine, we're just British now. And it's like,
Yeah.
what? No, we're not. Like,
But anyway, so
brains are crazy.
so in this situation, apparently Diane woke up in the morning not only with a migraine but with a British accent. And Chim immediately thinks traumatic brain injury and starts asking, did she fall? Did she have an accident? Athena's kind of looking backwards and forwards, and you can see kind of the cogs turning in her brain, and she tells Chim that Diane told her that she had a migraine and she had violent hiccups, and she says that plus the obvious chest pains, I think she's having a stroke. And I'm sorry, are the obvious chest pains in the room with us?
Yeah, there were never
Because-
any mention of
Yeah, she
chest
did not
pains
say
at
anything
all.
about that.
I mean, she's standing there with her hands on her chest, but that could just be, the clutching of the pearls.
Yeah.
Well, she had,
Um,
she was just talking about hiccups. Like, she didn't say she was in pain
Yeah.
from the hiccups or anything.
or maybe
like.
she's like holding her chest to stop the hiccups. There was no talk of obvious chest pains, but Athena has decided that she's going to take on the magical, I'm going to look at you and diagnose you
Yeah,
skill.
She's been hanging
And
around the
says-
others too long, and she's just absorbed it like they.
Yeah. So she says that Diane is having a stroke, and Bobby immediately rushes into action, comes up to Diane to examine her, and David's a little bit skeptical. It's like, but she's not slurring her speech. She doesn't have any paralysis. And Athena says no, because stroke symptoms are different in women, and medicine is so white male centered that we are taught as a society how to spot stroke symptoms in men, and nobody's ever said, oh, but by the way, it's going to look different in women.
Yeah, it can look so different in women. Heart attacks are the same. Heart attacks in men are totally different to heart attacks in women.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So is hiccups really a stroke symptom in women? I didn't look that up.
Yes.
Okay.
But apparently it's extremely rare.
Oh. Oh, well, at least they got one thing sort of right in this one.
Yeah. It's one of those things where the medical consultant has gone, here are all of the symptoms.
Oh, but then another one said it's common. So who knows?
Who knows? But anyway, so Bobby goes up to examine her. He asks her to stick out her tongue, and her tongue goes to the side. So she's got a little bit of inability to control her body. He also asks her what her birthday is, and she panics because it takes her a couple of seconds to get there. So they decide to give her the TPA injection, which is an injection which breaks up blood clots, because that's what a stroke is. It's a blood clot in your brain that prevents oxygen from getting to your brain, so your brain does weird things.
Well, that's the most common
like
stroke. A stroke can also be caused by an aneurysm bursting, in which case you do not want to give something that like increases blood flow.
Yes.
So like with a heart attack, you generally will give aspirin, like a lot of aspirin, to try and like thin the blood to get through to the heart. Whereas if it's a stroke, you do not want to do that, because if it's an aneurysm, they'll literally just bleed out.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's kind of the blood clot in the brain, the ischemic stroke is the most common type of stroke. But I don't know whether they would necessarily be giving her an injection so quickly. Like 50-50, toss a coin. Anyway.
Yeah, I'm not too sure, because obviously I only did basic first aid, and so like when we did the basic first aid, it was like, if you think they're having a stroke, do not give them anything, just immediately call the ambulance.
Go to the hospital.
Yeah, so I don't know sort of what comes after that, but with like if you're suspected of having a heart attack, they'll immediately give you aspirin. Like, I had chest pain a couple of years ago, and they were like, cool, do you have aspirin? And I was like, yes. And they're like, what dosage do you have? And I'm like, this dosage. And they're like, why is it so high? And I'm like, because I have really bad migraines. And they're like, excellent, take 2 of them. And I was like, Jesus Christ. God. And I still, like, and it wasn't like, because it was, most aspirin you dissolve in water. They were like, nah, just, like, chew it and swallow it immediately. And I'm like, okay.
God.
It was literally horrible. Yeah, and it was just chest pain. It was fine. But yeah, they do not risk anything if they think it's a heart attack.
Reddit tells me that they need to administer a CT to prove the existence of a clot before they can administer the TPA.
Yeah, there you go. That sounds...
So, no, they should not be giving her any kind of injection on site.
Mm-hmm.
But they do.
It's a television show. They've got to act like they're doing something, even though it's just go to hospital.
Yeah.
I mean, they could just have said, we need to get you to hospital as quickly as possible so we can get the fix. Like, we don't have to give her an injection or anything, but,
Yes.
that's okay.
But, I mean, keep in mind, these are the same paramedics that decided to fix a compound fracture by holding down someone on the side and snapping the bone back into place. So,
yes.
Yeah. I do like that they get Diane up and they're getting her down the stairs to the ambulance to take her to the hospital, and she's also like, oh, we're going to take the tube.
Like, why would they take the tube to the hospital? Like, yes, we'll just take the underground to the hospital.
Yeah, well, apparently she wasn't just content with waking up British, she was also an idiot.
Hey, she's got a clot that's blocking the oxygen to her brain. Give her a break.
I'll give her a break.
She doesn't know her own birthday. Maybe she's forgotten what an ambulance is.
Somebody gave Ryan Murphy a list of all of these British isms, and he was determined to get every single one in this scene.
Honestly, if we're going to do the drinking game, maybe we should just do this scene and we'll just die in the first 10 minutes of the episode.
I woke up at 9:30, take a shot. For a spot of tea, take a shot. A tiny moment here that when they're leading Diane out, David thanks Chim and Buck profusely, and Bobby sort of looks back up the stairs at Athena and says, don't thank us, thank her. And the two of them kind of share this moment before Bobby has to hurry away, which was interesting. Because these two have spent a lot of time together over the season. But we've never sort of seen them interact that.
I was thinking that after I'd watched this episode, I'm like, this is the first episode where they've actually really interacted later they interact outside a professional environment. And I'm like, we haven't seen them speaking to each other than like when they've been on a call together. Except that one scene at the beginning, early, like maybe even in the first episode where they were having lunch together, you know, or dinner, whatever.
Yeah,
there was a meal they were sharing.
Athena comes over for a family dinner, and Bobby gives her a hug at that point.
Does he?
It's not like a full hug. It's like a side arm, a side hug. But yeah, he does hug her. So they are known to each other. They are friendly, but they haven't had this level of interaction. It's their normal level ramped up to 1,000,000.
Yes. So we go back to Abby's apartment, and Carla's going through medicines. Matt, who is Abby's brother, is sitting with Abby at the table. Buck comes in and talks to Carla and says he found another Patricia box. And yeah, it seems that Patricia's been very like sentimental. Like there's all this stuff just everywhere of just like assorted things. So like,
it's a keepsake box. It's got like a popsicle stick Christmas tree that either Abby or Matt made, and Patricia
I think there's handprints in there too. Like it's and then there's a newspaper article with the heading "Local Teen Goes for Gold. Abby Clark gives strong showing at National Swim Qualifier." And Buck immediately grabs the article, runs to Abby, and goes, "Abigail Clark, you never told me you made the Olympic team."
Abby just laughs. Apparently she was her stroke was butterfly. Oh. And her brother Matt says that she was a rock star.
Yeah. And yeah, Buck's just thrilled. Like, Abby takes the article from him, but he's just like, "You got to have this out. You should be proud. You're an Olympian. I need to go get a frame. Like, there's empty ones in the closet," and just like runs off. And
Matt checks to make sure that Buck's out of earshot, and he sort of turns to Abby and goes, "You didn't tell me that he moved in." Abby's like, "No, he didn't move in."
He didn't move in, like, very quickly. Like, his
Abby,
stuff's all here, but, like, he hasn't moved in.
Carla kind of, in a very loud whisper goes, "Abby, he knows what's in your closet."
Like, you can sort of see under the bed, and there's, like, Buck's shoes under the bed, and Matt mentions that he's taken over the medicine cabinet, and Abby's just like, "Stay out of my medicine cabinet." But clearly it's like a new thing because we haven't seen...
When did this happen?
Yeah, like...
Well, he's just been staying over a lot.
Like, since the full moon?
Maybe after last week when he decided that he was going to help out.
That's quick, though.
It is quick. Well, he hasn't officially moved in. He's just sort of...
there.
Bringing all his
brought
stuff.
stuff
I guess
with him.
It probably does... Like, but how much time is he spending? Because we never see him at Abby's apartment.
Like, I don't know how long it's been since Patricia died either. Like, maybe it's been, like, a week or two and he's moved in since then to, like... Or...
Well, I don't know, because either... This has all happened very fast, because the scene where Abby is moving all the furniture around, she's wearing the same clothes as she is in this scene where she's talking to Matt.
Well, to be fair, like, the funeral wouldn't have been the day after Patricia died. So, like, if we give it, like, a week since Patricia died, roughly, then, like, maybe as soon as Patricia died, Buck was just staying over every night to help Abby plan for the funeral and, like, just deal with everything.
Right, yeah.
Giving her
I'll buy that.
Special cuddle comfort.
But, like, there's nothing in the show that indicates that.
Oh, absolutely
No.
not. Like, it's very fill in the blanks.
It's very much they're telling us he's moved in. They're not allowing us to reach that conclusion on our own.
Either way, but Buck's shit is all there.
Yes.
Yes.
But he's been, Abby just tells him that he's been helping her deal with stuff. And Matthew's like, okay.
I bet he has.
But then we cut to Bobby, who is at the firehouse in the bathroom, and he locks the door behind him.
That is the weirdest looking bathroom, too.
It is a weird bathroom. It's very big. Like, maybe it's the disabled bathroom or something, because it's a big room, but it's got, a urinal on one side of it. And
no, but there's two of them. There's a door that Bobby comes through, and there's a urinal on one side of the door, and there's another urinal on the other side of the door. Unless they did something weird with the camera and they kind of flipped it so there is only one, but it makes it look like there's two. And there's
Are
two
we looking
doors
at the
too.
mirror? Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know.
I don't know. But anyway, it's a weird room. It's a weird bathroom.
Maybe Bobby gets a private bathroom because he's captain.
Maybe.
But he doesn't need 2 urinals.
He might. You don't know.
I'm just thinking of an in joke from Monster of the Week and just going, oh no, I can't say that on this podcast. Anyway,
Anyway, enough talk about the bathroom. Let's talk about
yeah,
why
no,
Bobby's in the
Bobby
bathroom.
is fixing his hair in the mirror, and then he gets out his phone and takes some selfies.
In the
Oh my god, they're so awkward.
So
They
bad.
he's like, smiling in a really awkward way. Like I was watching him do it, going, oh, geez, I really hope the toilets aren't invisible in the background. Like
yeah, right.
you have to be careful when you take selfies in the bathroom.
I mean, they're not, because we see one of the photos that he takes and he's cropped it so that it's just like his face. But like there's one of the photos where he kind of holds his hand up like he's Jack saying hi.
Yeah. Yes.
I mean, he may as well just get a fish and hold the fish up. Going for, stereotypical dating app profile
I wonder what Buck
photos.
would
Because
say.
that's what he's doing. He's taking a profile. He's taking a photo to use as a profile for dating apps.
Yeah.
And we find that out because after he gets interrupted taking the photos and flees out of the bathroom, he's in the little kitchen area on his MacBook, which, Bobby, if you wanted to be uninterrupted, you should have used your office.
Honestly,
You were asking for someone to find out what you were doing by doing it in the middle of the kitchen.
Yeah.
I just assume he's cooking, and so like he has to keep an eye on whatever's in the oven or whatever.
Well, it's going to be burnt to a crisp because they never get to eat if he's cooking something.
Jim says something about pasta when he walks in. So I don't know. I think Jim's about to cook something.
I think yeah. So he's on the laptop typing away. Chim and Hen walk up the stairs, and Bobby immediately slams his laptop shut, and then pretends that he's just been drinking his tea. But Chim immediately notices.
Yeah.
So he and Hen detour over, and they're like, "What was all that about?" And Bobby decides that the best course of action is to play dumb.
Yeah.
Like, what? Nothing. Like,
Totally
you're hiding
nonchalant.
something. No,
Yeah.
I'm not. Yes, you are. No, I'm not. Yes, you are. Buck walks over and Shim takes the opportunity to swoop in and take Bobby's laptop and opens it, which conveniently opens straight to the last window that Bobby had open. And, I mean, my Mac has a login.
Bobby's an old
So
man,
if
okay? He doesn't know how to do that.
I mean, I know it's convenient that he has to open straight to the last page. And the last page was Bobby's profile for Romancing the Uniform.
Chim's site!
Chim's website.
Jim is so excited about this.
He even calls it
Yes.
his, he's like, that's my dating site. That's where I met Tatiana. Like, we don't want to think about Tatiana, Jim. But also, I love that he just claims this website. He's like, no, it's mine.
And Hen he says, are you actually putting yourself back out on the scene? And Bobby's like, yeah, my sponsor maybe said it's time. They said I need to get a girlfriend because I'm a sad, boring old man. Actually,
No, apparently he's too concerned with work. He needs a girlfriend to help him get out of his head and into the world. Which, again, there's a lot of telling in this episode. Not a lot of... It's almost as though the showrunners had a storyline that they wanted and the writer's room never delivered. So they're going, well, we're just going to have to run with that storyline anyway. So Bobby apparently goes to AA now.
yeah.
Not just going down to the church to chat with the hot priest. He's actually going to meetings. He's got a sponsor.
Good
He's
point. Yeah,
taking
we've
it
never
serious
actually
now.
shown him do AA.
Not
At
in
this
this
point.
season, no.
Yeah. We've
I'm
only seen
assuming
him
it's
do
a-
the church stuff.
I'm assuming that it's a new thing since he relapsed.
Yeah.
But it's the telling, not the showing.
They do mention, he does say when he does relapse, he does give the amount of days he's been sober. So I guess,
Oh, he's probably been counting. I don't know whether he has a chip for it or not.
Yeah,
though.
I don't know.
Well, they all make a lot of fun of him for being on a dating site. Although Hen does say she thinks it's great and she's happy for him. But Buck takes one look at this profile and just laughs his head off. He's like, this is terrible. So...
Oh my god, Buck is so gleeful. Like, he is just... this is his wildest dreams come true. Like, he just found his dad on a dating site.
Yeah.
He says the photo looks like Bobby's trying to sell real estate from a bus stop bench, and I will not be buying. Chim loves that. Bobby describes himself as a lifesaver, not a heartbreaker. And nobody thinks that that's a good idea. And Bobby's like, but I thought that was sweet. He's like, it's cheese. It's sweet, sweet cheese.
I mean, the picture is cute. He's smiling in it, but it does kind of look like a middle-aged dude's Facebook profile pic. You know?
I would have completely swiped past that profile photo.
Apparently he's got that he likes flan on that.
And then he's really, really upset that Chim does not also like flan, because apparently flan is the bomb. And then I think my favourite part is that Buck recoils like he's been electrocuted and looks at Bobby and says, you still have an AOL email account?
Like, this is like when I found out my friend still had a Yahoo email account, and I was like, what?
Oh,
Yeah,
Like, I cannot be friends with you anymore.
I found someone recently who still used Hotmail, and I was like, really?
Oh, it's so bad.
I mean...
But yeah, Yahoo, like... Oh.
So Buck says it's like Bobby was frozen in ember in 1995. And Bobby just looks at him and goes, it's amber, not ember, you idiot.
Yeah.
So Buck goes, that's not what's important. What's important is that you can never show this to a girl because it's the profile of a guy no one wants to go out with.
Aw, so mean.
But true, I would not have swiped on him.
And Vex, you are, of course, the target demographic.
Wow.
How old is Peter Krause?
Pretty sure older than you, sweetie.
That's fine. If that's what you're after.
Peter Krause is... He would have been in his early 50s.
Yeah.
I think actually Aisha is the only one kind of within my age range on this show.
Nice.
And she is also married and to a man, so that's
damn.
not even going to help me.
Never mind.
Yeah.
So, meanwhile, Buck and I are, I think, like almost exactly the same age.
Ah.
Yeah, he is just under 6 months older than me.
Right. Yeah.
Well, like Oliver is anyway.
Oliver, yeah. Yeah.
But not at this point. That's like
No, he's-
8 seasons time. No, 7 seasons time.
Yeah.
Um,
Oh yeah, season 1 Buck, like Buck 1.0, way too young.
Yeah.
My little baby.
And Jim takes the laptop from Buck and says that you're not the right person that he should be... You are not the right person he should be taking dating advice from. That doesn't even make sense, Jim. But anyway, Buck is like,
And calls him Buckaroo.
I'm the I'm the one in a stable monogamous relationship. I'm the healthiest dater at this whole table, and the others look at each
And
other and
he's
go,
right.
"Oh my god."
He's
right.
absolutely right, because like Karen has moved out of Hen's house, Chim is single, Bobby is perpetually single, Buck is the best one in the relationship right now.
Yeah.
And the horror on their faces they realise this is hilarious. It's like they're in the bad place,
Yeah.
to borrow from another show.
Like, and even says the world's turned upside down.
Yeah.
Buck thinks that their absolute skepticism is hilarious. He says, yeah, laugh it off. I am proof that real change is possible. And then enter a woman, stage right, who somehow has got through the security of the firehouse and has made her way through like the garage part and up the stairs, and nobody has stopped
Yeah,
her.
like they just let anyone
Either
walk
that,
in.
It's either that or, like, she ran into Metzen on Bird downstairs and, like, is Evan Buckley here? And they're like, oh, this will be good. Yeah, sure, he's upstairs. So she walks up to the table and is just like, what the hell, Evan Buckley? And Bobby kind of puts on the captain hat and is like, can we help you? And this little monologue that she goes off on is hilarious. Because apparently she has been in a relationship with Evan for 6 weeks. The sexiest, deepest, most romantic, most intimate relationship that she's ever had with a man. And then he ghosted her.
Yeah.
And Bobby is all like, oh god, we should not be listening to this. Chim is throwing bits of a mandarin in his mouth like it's popcorn. Hen is morbidly fascinated.
Yes.
But
Buck is confused.
Buck is so confused. And, like, it's very telling already that she keeps calling him Evan Buckley.
Yes.
Because no one calls him Evan Buckley.
Yes, I know that, like, later on there is this whole thing with another character who specifically calls him Evan. But at this point, everyone calls him Buck. And
yeah, even Abby calls him Buck.
Even Abby calls him Buck. It's the people who don't know him that call him Evan. So that's kind of your first red flag, that they're calling him Evan. So Buck's getting really panicked and kind of looks over at Bobby for help, and Bobby decides, yeah, okay, fine, protective dad mode. Are you sure you have the right Evan Buckley? And the woman's like, yeah, the Evan Buckley who's a firefighter, the Evan Buckley who works here, the Evan Buckley who climbed the roller coaster. So she kind of knows who he is, but on the other hand, she doesn't know who he is.
Buck's like
Yeah,
so
'cause, like-
confused. He's like, that is definitely me, but
It's not me.
it's not me. That's not the same person as who I am. and she just slaps him and bounces.
Immediately everybody's up ready to throw hands.
And then she just
Because
leaves.
it's one of these things where, like, everyone else can make fun of Buck and can attack Buck, but nobody actually gets to lay hands on Buck.
Yeah, like, we're allowed to make fun of our baby brother. But
Yeah.
no one else is allowed to be mean to our baby brother.
Exactly.
But he swears he has never seen her before.
But yeah, like,
So-
Buck sort of turns back to everyone and, like, he's laughing and sort of expects everyone else to laugh. But they're all just looking at him like, what did you do?
Yeah.
Like,
I have to say that I hate this storyline.
oh yeah, absolutely.
The whole thing is that it's making a mockery of Buck saying, you know, he said, you know, prove that real change is possible, and then this woman comes in and Hen's like, yeah, you've really changed. But the thing is, we've seen Buck as a man whore. We've seen him as someone who is willing to do, like, the one night stands. He takes the fire truck out to fuck women, but he's not a player. Everybody that he's slept with has been well aware of what they're getting into, to the point, like, the first woman, the woman that he picked up in the fire engine, he tried to initiate another date with her, and she's like, no, it's just the sex, don't catch feelings for me.
Yeah, like, that's been, like, that was what sort of all of them were. Like, they were like, no, this is fun, but, like, we're not, it's not going
We've
further.
never seen any evidence of Buck mistreating women, of Buck leading women on, of, you know, fucking them and then dumping them. So for everyone to be so quick to believe that this is Buck and that's what he does, I don't get it, because that is not the Buck that we've been shown in this series so far.
Yeah, it would have been out of character for him to do something like that.
And I understand why Buck is getting so upset, because it's really hurtful, because he knows that this is not who they think he is. And for them to so readily believe that he is capable of mistreating someone so badly, it's quite a blow to him.
Not only mistreating the one that he ghosted either. Like, that's basically saying he's mistreating Abby. Who
And
he
that's the thing.
literally just threw his entire, like, everything away
He would
for.
never treat Abby like that. He would never mistreat Abby like that. And even like that episode where Abby was adamant she was not going to sleep with him, and she tells Buck, you know, just go out and pick up a girl off a dating app. He never did that.
No.
Once he was in with Abby, he was all in. So like, I know that they decided that they were going to use this storyline because it leads to another part of the episode, but I hate this storyline because it just does not make sense for Buck.
Yeah. I feel like it'd make more sense for Chim.
Oh, Chim, I could definitely see doing this.
But
Oh, yeah.
but Buck, no. Like, not
No.
where he is at the moment.
I don't think Buck ever.
Ever, yeah. But, like, they wouldn't... Before they knew him really well? Maybe. Like, back when he was a little proby?
I don't know. It's... There's so much in this episode where there are gaps and miscalculations. I don't know. Anyway, any possible further conversation that they can have on this point is interrupted because the alarm goes off and they are dispatched to a traffic accident. So everyone else sort of disappears, leaving Buck just standing there going, what the hell has just happened, before following them.
So we cut to Athena's. Michael's there. They're getting the kids ready to go because Michael's taking them away for the weekend.
Yeah.
And Athena tells them to get their swimsuits because apparently there's a pool. Michael calls to May to bring her hair products.
Yeah, they have a cute little,
It's
slightly awkward, like, you know, get all your things together, you know, humour the old man, let me do your hair, you know, this sort of thing. And then they're all standing there going, oh, Athena's like, do we need to talk about this? Are we all okay with what's happening here? And the kids are like, look, this is not the first time that we've been away with Dad, so it's fine. Like, we don't need to talk about it. This is really embarrassing. What are you talking about?
May very pointedly says, do you guys need to talk about this?
But Athena's like, no, it's all right. We get it. So they go outside, but Michael sticks around to kind of check in with her and, you know, tell her that don't worry, Glenn won't be there. And she says she trusts him, but it'll be weird sleeping in the house without her babies in the house.
Yeah, she says being without you is hard enough, but being without them, it makes me see why people stay together for the sake of the kids.
I don't think she's having fun being single.
No, she likes to say she is, but
Yeah. Like she was very quick to tell Aaron that she, you know, she's just trying to work out how to be single at 50 and she's trying to find herself, you know, trying to find this whole new person that she's going to be after her marriage has dissolved, but I don't think she's enjoying it.
Yeah.
It's not comfortable.
no, you can it's like she wants her family back in this episode.
It's just so funny because she's like, I understand why people stay together for the kids, and Michael's just like, bitch, you wanted to get divorced. You wanted me out of here.
But he very kindly says that they're on their way to being more authentic people. Yeah. And it's a hard journey, but they have to do it. So he leaves. Athena's sort of sitting by the fire going, okay then, you know.
What have I done?
And this next scene must be a bit later because there's no traffic accident. Instead, they have been called. They're getting out of a truck. Which truck is it this time? I didn't look. I didn't see a ladder.
It's just the ambulance.
Oh, okay.
Because it's just Chim and Hen.
And Chim is assuring her that Karen will come around. And it wasn't you that night. You were possessed. You were someone else. Take a drink.
Which, no, because Hen already said in her voiceover from the Full Moon episode that it's not the moon that makes you act like that. You choose to act like that.
Yeah.
So she's already well aware that she made a choice to go see Eva and sleep with Eva. And she brings that up later in this scene. She tells Chim, no, I made the choice to do that. It was me.
Yeah, maybe I'm not the faithful family woman that I thought I was.
Yep, she's having a bit of a crisis here. Wondering if she's really like that. You know, she's not the person she thought she was. But they've arrived at a psychic reading place where, like a psychic's house. And he said, well, maybe this is a good place to find out.
So they walk in and the coroner has beaten them to the scene. And there is a guy already in a body bag, half zipped up, And the coroner very solemnly intones, time of death, 3:30 p.m. And we cut to the dead guy's point of view. So we're looking up and we see the coroner sort of peering over, and then Chim's face appears. And he says, oh, I guess we're a little late for this one. And then we get a voiceover, which is the mental voice of the deceased guy going, no, I'm not dead. Come on, Lyle, wake up. Apparently he's not dead.
This is weird.
Yeah.
It's so weird. This guy is so weird.
There's he's a ghost. Like, what's going on here? Yeah.
Exactly. Is he appears dead but he's not dead, or is he actually dead but his spirit is speaking to us?
Yeah.
Which TV show are we watching?
Yeah.
Have I suddenly slipped back into Supernatural? So the coroner tells them that Stiff is theirs, and that Chim and Hen's patient is in the other room. And apparently they got called for the psychic, who's looks like she's having a little bit of a panic attack because she was reading his palm and he just keeled over.
Which is weird, because his lifeline was really wrong.
She's
really
very
long.
confused because, yeah, his lifeline was really long. He should not have been dying right at that very second. So Chim and Hen check her vitals, and
Chim's wearing sunglasses inside. You know who does that?
douchebags. That's apt because he and Hen continue their private personal conversation in front of the patient.
Yeah, it's so
And that's
rude.
a pretty douchey thing to do.
Maybe he forgot. No, he doesn't wear other glasses. I was going to say maybe, because I do that sometimes when I'm at the shops or whatever, and I forgot to bring my other glasses with me and walk around like a douche with my, because otherwise I can't see.
Yeah.
Anyway, he doesn't wear glasses anyway, so he doesn't have that excuse. But yes, they do have the rest of their conversation in front of this lady, and she says, would you like a reading from me? And Hen's like, I'd like for you to keep breathing into this bag and mind your own business. It's like, well you shouldn't be speaking about
conversations in front of her.
Yeah, exactly. But the psychic lady is like, I knew she was going to say that. Okay.
Yeah, she does brush it off quite nicely. But yeah, like, don't have your private conversations in front of a patient. It's rude.
Mm-hmm.
So then we get back to Abby's. Abby's sitting at the table doing personal admin stuff, I guess. Carla brings her a cup of tea and notices a passport sitting on the table and asks if Abby is going to take a trip. And Abby laughs and says no, that it was her mother's, but she has to send it back to the passport office so that it can't be stolen and used to forge a fake passport. But Patricia never travelled. She always talked about travelling. She wanted to go to Ireland, but the furthest she ever went was Mexico, and that was only because Matt and his wife did a vow renewal there.
And yeah, so Carla asks if Abby's good because she seems good, and Abby says she guesses she's good, but changes the subject very quickly.
Yeah, she's about to go back to work.
Yeah.
Already. Well, we don't know how long it's been, I guess, but
911 needs to be better with their time cues in their episodes.
Yeah.
yeah.
Just something. Please give me something to tell me how much time has passed.
They either give too many time cues or no time cues. Like, they'll either be like 2 weeks previously, 24
1 hour previously,
Yeah.
1 hour 1 hour earlier, 3 hours in the future.
6 years ago. Like, yeah, so Abby gives Carla a jewellery box and says she wanted Carla to have it. And it's a pair of earrings. And Abby says they're not valuable, but they meant a lot to Patricia, and Carla meant a lot to both of them, which is really sweet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, like, Carla tries to give them back, but Abby's like, no, I've got so many things that, like, from Mum that remind me of my mum. And I want to give Carla something.
Carla says she's not likely to forget someone like Patricia, but she's thankful for the gesture, and she tears up a little bit as she thanks Abby for making her a part of their family.
I love Carla.
Yeah, she's
So
a sweet. She's a sweetie.
Such a shame
Yeah.
she's now out of the job.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're going straight back to Lyle now. He's lying in a lab on a slab, I guess. I don't know. I just am a poet, and I knew it.
You knew it?
I knew it.
He's in the morgue, but he's still got his boxes on. Why has he got his boxes on?
Well,
I guess
can't
they
just
can't
get his willy out on TV. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know.
We're at a certain time slot, Bex.
But I mean, criminal minds have people on, like, in body bags and on mortuary tables all the time, and none of them are dressed, and I don't recall seeing a lot of sort of full nudity from them. So there are ways that they could have shot it to make it look like Lyle was fully naked without actually having the actor be fully undressed. It just seems weird that the dude's dead, but he's still wearing his boxes.
Yeah, yeah.
Anyway, so we get Lyle's voiceover, whether it's like him or whether it's his spirit, and he's trying to beg to somebody to hear him. He's not dead, and he's telling himself to wake up, move, do something, as the medical examiner is taking photos of him, sort of pre-autopsy photos, and then gets a Sharpie and starts drawing that Y incision guidelines on his chest.
I thought he was actually cutting into him at that point. I'm like, no. But no, when he sort of lurches up, I'm like, okay, it's just scribble.
Which was so awkward because, like, his arms are supposed to be on the table next to him, but somehow he manages to, and the Emmy is leaning over him with the bone saw ready to start cutting.
Yeah.
So he somehow manages to, like, get his arm out from under the ME, down to the side of the table, and then sort of zombie flips it up to grab the ME on the shoulder, freaking him the fuck out. Because,
Oh yeah, scares the shit out of
you
him.
guys. The people you're meant to autopsy are not supposed to be moving.
That's right.
Yeah, I've
So-
watched way too many TV shows to be like a medical examiner, because I'd constantly be like, oh my god, they're going to wake up. They're going to wake up. Oh,
Yeah.
what if they wake up?
I don't
Well,
need
it's
that
obviously
jump scare.
never occurred to this guy, because he takes one look at this now living, breathing guy that he was about to, cut into, and faints, dropping the bone saw. And we hear it. Yeah.
Yeah, we hear it like, cutting
cuts into
something, I guess.
something.
And
Yeah. Closed captioning just says cutting noises.
yeah, and Lyle gets like a very first 5 minutes of supernatural blood splatter across his face. And he's just like, he gets down there and pulls the guy's phone out of his pocket and just unlocks it. Like, do
Guys-
people not have locks on their phones? Like,
Yeah.
he just
Honestly,
opens the
I don't have a
phone.
lock on my phone, because my kids use my phone all the time,
Okay.
so I leave it unlocked.
You can-
but
I mean,
I
you
don't
can-
have-
there is an emergency button on there anyway,
you can call
yeah.
emergency, you're right, without unlocking it. But anyway, he
But
calls
my
911.
issue is, why is there no landline attached to the morgue?
Oh,
There should be a phone on the wall for the medical examiner to use to, like, call inside the building or receive calls from outside the building.
well, maybe Lyle
Where's
didn't
that
think of that.
phone?
He just thought mobile on this guy.
That's it.
Well,
gotta,
the
gotta
next-
group this poor guy instead.
Well, the next scene when we see 911 responding, they do a wide shot of the room, and I was sort of looking at all of the walls, and no, there was no actual phone on the walls. So yeah, patting down the bleeding medical examiner was his only option. But it was really cute because they go, 911, what's your emergency? And he's just,
Yeah.
how do I explain
How to
this?
explain this? But we don't get to hear his explanation because we cut straight to Hen and Chim, where
They're very busy today.
yes, they are busy. So they walk into the morgue, and Lyle calls them over, and they look at him and stop and point at him and go, "Whoa, you were at the psychic's house. You were," and he's like, "I was dead, right?"
Again,
But
excellent
then-
facial recognition, because I literally greeted a customer who, like, I served a customer the other day, and then 10 minutes later he came in to get something else, and I greeted him again.
Yeah, I mean,
Like, I hadn't seen him
if
ever.
you're out of
It was 10
context,
minutes.
then
Like,
you're not going to recognise it.
I hadn't
It's the
even
same
left my
context.
desk.
Well, especially with this guy, like, they only barely looked at him because he was already dead, so they didn't even
Exactly.
need
Like,
to
they
look
didn't
at him.
examine him or anything. Yeah.
But I mean, these are the people who look at a tree and remember that they were
Remember
there
the
a
tree,
year
yeah.
ago. So, their recall is impeccable.
Yes.
But Lyle's all like, yeah, I was dead. But more importantly, do you want to fix him? Because I kind of had to improvise with the tourniquet that I wrapped around this guy's leg. And Hen's are like, oh shit, yeah, we better fix him.
So Hen goes to check out the guy, but Chim is like, okay, I'm going to just check you out to see if you're okay. You look pretty good for a dead guy. And Lyle explains that he has narcolepsy with cataplexy. And then we get the exposition, explanation.
For the sake of the audience who aren't willing to suddenly pull their phones out and Google narcolepsy.
Yeah. So Jim explains that he fell into a paralytic sleep, and then Hen very, specifically says your vitals were imperceptible. So I guess that explains that, which kind of sucks. I mean, narcolepsy, you just fall asleep, but to also have no sign of life is kind of a bummer.
So apparently this is not the first time it's happened. He's been declared dead 3 times.
Yes.
And Hen suggests that maybe he should wear a medical bracelet. Chim suggests that he gets, like, I am not dead with 10 exclamation points tattooed across his chest so that the next time they put him on an autopsy table, they don't actually try to conduct an autopsy on him. Just to let everybody know that he's not actually dead. And the Emmy on the floor who's been woken up at this point is like, yeah, I would have appreciated knowing that you weren't dead.
Yeah, but Lyle's like,
Lyle
I don't
says
want people
actually
to
he
know.
doesn't want to tell people. He doesn't want people to know that he's not actually dead.
So basically Lyle's a dick.
He's a bit of a thrill seeker, I think, by the sound of it. He gets off on, feeling alive again.
He's like, I'm terrified of the day I don't wake up in time and they actually bury me alive. But, get a tattoo then. Jesus Christ.
He says that he wakes up a whole new person every single time.
Yeah.
And he's reminded how precious life is. Which, yes, that's fine, but you don't need to scare the bejesus out of everyone around you. Literally. At the same time.
And use up the city's valuable resources in thinking that you are dead every time.
Yes.
I wonder how many photos, pre-autopsy photos this guy has.
I do enjoy that he's standing there in his boxer shorts with, the incision just still marked on his chest.
Yeah. And, trying to be deep. He goes, until then, death becomes me.
Yeah.
Jim's just like, what the fuck, bro?
Although he's probably seen that movie, but he's going that, that's not what that movie was about.
Yeah.
If you're going to make a pop culture reference, at least get it right.
This poor ME's now got this massive, cut on... Yeah, anyway.
So later that night, we are going to see what Hen's up to, and she is hanging out in a supermarket parking lot waiting for her wife.
Yeah, she's getting her stalker on.
Yeah, she knows that Karen does her grocery shopping on a Friday night, and she really needs to talk to Karen, and Karen's not answering her phone calls, so she's decided to stalk her. Which,
as you do.
I don't think that's the power move that Hen thinks it is.
No.
Yeah. That would kind of scare the bejesus out of me, to be honest. In the dark, in the parking lot. But she just wants 5 minutes to talk to Karen. And Karen's not really into it. She's like, I can't. I can't talk to you. But eventually she stops and she says, fine, I'm listening. And Hen tells her that she loves her and doesn't mean a whole lot right now, but it's all I've got. And Karen's sort of breaking down, going, I can't do this now. I have to make dinner and I have to get Denny ready for bed. And then we get the episode title again because Hen says, I wish... No, she doesn't even say that. She says, I wish the person that went over to Eva's that night wasn't me, because that's not who I am. And I wrote a note afterwards saying, would you say that you were a completely different person, Hen?
A whole new you?
She wasn't,
perhaps?
because she made that choice. Yeah, Hen's heartfelt speech that she gives to Karen is not doing her any favors. It's a lot of I statements.
It's a lot of apologizing.
And it's a lot of, you need to come home because I can't deal with you not being home right now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, it took me a long time to actually like Hen again after this storyline. Like, I really wish they hadn't done it. Like, I get that they're just like, Hen's flawed and, like, had to have this backslide to say goodbye to Eva for good. But, like, it took me so long to...
I guess when your character starts the show married, there's not very many storylines that you can do except put the marriage at threat.
Yeah.
It's just, unfortunately, it's not a storyline that a lot of people like to watch.
No.
Especially if it's not... Because I think sometimes when you've got that marriage at threat, when you've got an interloper, there's sometimes the triangle looks tempting. That like, oh, maybe it would work out if that person leaves their marriage and goes for the third person. But right from the get-go, we knew that it was never going to happen with Eva.
No.
She was set up as a bad person from the start, so the love triangle was never going to work. So they've put the marriage at threat for no reason. And they're not really doing a very good job of trying to rectify the situation.
Yeah.
Yeah, Hen hasn't really done anything to prove that she deserves Karen at this stage.
Yeah, I wasn't sold on that speech. If someone came up to me and said, look, I'm sorry I cheated on you, but you need to come home because I'm a mess.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, maybe you shouldn't have cheated on me then.
Consequences of your actions.
Yes.
Fuck around and find out, Hen.
Karma is a bitch. Weren't you saying that like all last week?
But yeah, so yeah, not Hen's best moment.
No.
So we go to a coffee shop with Buck and Abby, and Buck's adorable, because he's like, so like, did your brother like me?
Yeah.
So sweet.
But he thought it was really funny when he thought you'd moved in with me.
Yeah, Abby's trying to laugh it off and make a joke like, haha, they think you moved in, and Buck's going, but I did,
I kind of did.
Like, all
Is
my
that
stuff's
okay?
at your place.
He's probably just so happy to be out of that frat house.
Honestly.
A kitchen that's actually clean and has proper food in it.
Oh my god, could you imagine a fridge with food in it after? Yeah. And like real grown-up food too. Like I'm sure there's wine in that fridge.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Oh,
not
yeah.
not just PBR.
There's vegetables in that fridge.
Oh, he wouldn't have eaten.
I mean, I know he gets most of his meals from Bobby, but still.
It's not just 8-day-old pizza.
Yeah.
I'm just describing my fridge right now. So Abby says that it's okay that Buck's pretty much moved in. She just never thought about it in terms of Buck moving in, but he's been so amazing.
Buck tells her that he has her back. But then Daphne shows up.
Yeah.
And honestly, every Daphne in a TV show is just bad news.
Except,
I think Daphne from Scooby-Doo
I was
would
going to
probably
say,
take offense to
Scooby-Doo,
that.
she's all right.
Oh, true. I was just thinking the one that married Castiel.
She was
that one,
yeah, she was a piece of work.
Did you recognise this actor though?
She looks so familiar. What have I seen her in?
She's Alicia Baines in Supernatural.
Ah,
I was looking at her going, oh, she is definitely in Supernatural. But yeah, I didn't remember it was her until I looked it up. Yeah.
cool.
Well, she's only in one episode, so maybe
Yeah.
that's why.
I think also Alicia had natural hair and Daphne's hair is treated, straightened.
Yeah.
Anyway, so yeah, Daphne is another one of Evan's girlfriends.
Yeah, whoever Evan is, because...
That she tells Abby that she and Evan have been DMing on and off for the past 3 months until he fell off the face of the earth, and Abby looks like she's been punched.
Yeah.
And Buck is just like, this cannot be happening again.
Yeah, and
And
Abby's
Abby's
like,
like,
what do you mean?
again?
Poor Abby. She's so confused.
Poor
Poor
Abby.
Buck,
Buck is so confused, yes.
Everybody's confused.
Except Daphne, who's just mad.
Yeah, why are all these
She
women
is
so
very
mad?
mad.
Like, I mean, if you got ghosted, then a lot of people would just be like, oh, well, I guess that's not happening. But they're like, no, I'm going to tell this Buck what I think of him. You know.
Like, how do they keep... Like, yes, sure, the one in the firehouse, I understand, but poor Buck's just
How
in a
did
coffee.
this one find him? Yeah.
Yeah, I assume she must
That
have just
one-
ran into them at the, you know, walked into the cafe and went, oh my God, that's that guy.
No, but she's there and she very pointedly has a drink. So I don't know. Again, the details are not forthcoming in this episode.
No.
They've got a lot to pack in this episode.
They do. So Buck tries to explain to her that this is not what she thinks and that she's the second girl who's come up to him saying that he's ghosted her and there's this huge misunderstanding. She doesn't care and just tosses her drink in his face, which pisses him off. Abby is just so confused, and Daphne turns to her and says, I just did you a favour, you're welcome, and stalks off.
And poor Abby is like, I thought you weren't doing that anymore. Like,
But again, when
did you
was
say
he
you were single
doing that?
recently? Like,
Again, she is so quick to believe the worst of him, and I do not think he has ever given her cause to think so
he's
badly
been so
of
lovely
him.
lately.
Exactly, he has never stepped out on her. She has always assumed that he is a young playboy,
Yeah.
but he's never had any. There's never been any evidence that he has actually acted like that since he met Abby, and he is just so frantic for her to believe the best in him, and she's just not giving that to him at this point. And just, she says that she doesn't even know who she is right now, but she definitely doesn't think she knows who Buck is. And she gets up and walks out of the cafe.
poor Buck.
And, I hate the storyline so much.
Yeah, it kind of sucks.
Almost as much as I hate the next scene that comes up.
Ugh.
Yes, we have Kenny, who has learned the term YOLO from his son. And so he's turning 50 and he needs to do something irresponsible. So,
Yeah, David Wallace is turning 50, and
But before we get into discussions of David Wallace turning 50, they're doing this thing with this scene where they are trying to make us connect with this character on a very, very deep and emotional level in a very, very quick period of time. And for anyone who has any type of media literacy, you know that when they start laying it on thick with a random character that's just shown up halfway through an episode, you know something bad is going to happen to
oh
them.
yeah, he's like,
Because
this is the
they
end.
want
like,
they want the audience to feel for this character, so when they meet their grisly demise, the audience is going to be crying for them because they're just so unfair. They love this character so much. Unfortunately, because I know that's what's going to happen with this guy, like even the first time I watched it, I had no idea what actually was going to happen to him, but I'm just like, oh, you know, I'm 50, I've got my son, I've got my wife, I've got this. I'm like, oh, you're going to die.
like
I'm
his
immediately
wife
checking
even
out
gets
of
a
this scene.
name.
I don't care about you. And I refuse to care about you because you're just going to break my heart.
yeah.
So David Wallace is eyeing this big black motorbike, and yeah, he says his wife Meg is against it and would lose
For
her
good
mind.
reason.
Would lose her mind if she even knew that he was in the shop browsing. The sales guy, who's like super disinterested, mind you, is like, yeah, she'll change her mind.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
then
she's not
David
gonna
Wallace
change her
goes, you know, she's usually right about this stuff.
Yeah,
no
she
shit.
is.
So he gets on one of the bikes. He gets like super excited by it. He said he told his son he was doing this. Told him he'd see his dad coming home, looking like some kind of badass.
He said, looking like some kind of badass easy rider. And I'm like, first of all, it's the wrong bike if you want to be an easy rider. And number two, your son has no idea what that is. And for everyone who's like Buck's age out in the audience right now, it's a movie from like the 70s about two guys on Harleys who just drive around the American countryside, hooking up and getting high.
Yeah,
and being badasses.
This is definitely not a Harley.
This is definitely not a Harley.
I'm assuming they could not afford a Harley. So
it's very interesting that they never actually mention any brand names, and there's no insignia on the bikes.
Yeah,
Could
which
not
is
tell
funny.
you what kind of bike it is. It's either black or red.
Yeah, it's funny because like I've known a few like bike people, and they're all about the type of bike. Like
it's very specific.
Like you would not ride, like if you're a Harley guy, you would not ride like a Yamaha.
Yeah.
Like that's not how it works.
But David Wallace is not a bike guy. He's just having a midlife crisis. And he doesn't actually care what kind of bike it is, except that it has to be cherry red.
Yeah, he would like it in red.
Yes.
So yeah, there's a mannequin that's got leathers and a helmet, and he buys those and the bike in red, because then we cut down to David Wallace riding the red bike, in the leather jacket and helmet from the mannequin.
And he's having an absolute ball.
But where is his license? When did he get his bike license?
Like, can Americans just, like, maybe it's the same as a car?
No,
it's quite different.
Okay,
I did
cool.
quickly jump onto California DMV. You do need a motorbike license. You do need to.
Yeah, for good reason, clearly.
If you have a car license, you can skip like the general traffic rules test, but you do need to prove both in a written test and in a practical test that you have proficiency with motorbikes. So I don't know, maybe he went and did the test and got the license, and he's just been kind of, off and on about buying the bike, and he's finally bit the bullet. Or maybe he doesn't have a license at all.
See, the thing is,
Who knows?
I'm pretty sure here you don't actually need to do a practical test for your learners for your bike. I'm pretty sure you just have to do the theory one.
I don't remember
because like one of my exes had a motorbike, and I vividly remember him saying the first time he got on one, he immediately drove it into the side of a house.
Yeah, they have very different, it's different from a push bike. Like, the balance is very different, like, turning it
blew my
is
mind
weird.
because I've rode dirt bikes from when I was a kid because I grew up in the country.
Right, yeah.
And so I was like, what do you mean you didn't know how to drive a motorbike before you rode a motorbike? Like, is that not just something that every kid learns when they start walking?
No, it is not.
Down where I am, you have to do a course with a company called Stay Upright. And it looks like there are courses in New South Wales, Victoria, Queensland, and the ACT. So I'm guessing you have to prove proficiency through these guys before you can actually get your license, regardless of how old you are or whether you have driven a car or not. You still have to do this course. So yeah, nobody's walking into a bike shop and wheeling the bike out onto the street and just taking off.
Okay, yeah, hang on. You do receive coaching and safe riding techniques, and you get trained and assessed.
Yeah,
for the learners. Yeah.
Well, let's not worry though.
I think my ex was just really dumb, but
he's staying upright.
He looks like he knows what he's doing on the bike.
Let's just assume that he already had his license. He just wasn't.
He has not crashed into the side of a house.
Maybe his wife forbade him from getting a motorcycle, but he already knew how to ride one, or something.
Okay. But yeah, so he is having an absolute ball, driving on the streets. He is attracting some attention too, because a woman is driving beside him and pulls up level with him, and she's sort of waving at him through the open window, and he's all like, oh hell yeah, and waving back at her. And they're kind of exchanging flirty glances backwards and forwards. They're still level with each other, and they're driving towards an intersection. And they are so into each other that they fail to realize that the light has turned red, and they go into the intersection, into oncoming traffic. And we hear horns honking, tires screeching, and the camera goes up above so we can see the intersection from above, and we can see what's going to happen. We've got a pickup truck coming from the side street straight at David Wallace on his bike, and he is right next to this other blue car, so it's obvious that the car is going to hit him and then continue to slam into the blue car, which is exactly what happens.
It happens really fast though. Like, it's literally
Yeah.
just like it goes up and then it's just bang.
Yep.
And then we go straight to a 911 call. And the caller goes, you got to send someone. There was an accident. It's really bad. A motorcycle was hit.
And when the 118 arrive, we can see Kenny, which is his actual name, but now he's David Wallace apparently. Yes.
David Wallace.
He's lying on the road, and there's like a bloody blanket like draped over him. And Athena runs over and is asking for the captain. It's like, you know his name, Athena. Like, where's the captain? That's weird. Anyway,
She's being professional.
She says
Maybe she didn't realise the 118 had been called. She just saw a truck and didn't realise which firehouse had been summoned. But she should know better. It's always the 118.
It's always
Yeah,
the 118.
I mean, they're the only ones. She tells Bobby that there's not much they can do for him, and the speed of impact has torn him clean in half.
Yeah, and like the blanket is like covering
just the top half of him.
Yeah, because like there's no legs.
There's no bottom half.
And she says that he's lost a lot of blood.
Along with other things.
Yeah. And she doesn't know how he's still alive. And Bobby just says, well, the helmet probably kept him from dying right away, and his circulatory system is now keeping his heart beating by pumping all his blood out of him. And it's like, well, where is this blood? There's no blood on the road. Oh, there's a little bit of blood on the road.
It's being mopped up by the
not...
magic blanket, okay? Maybe the blanket's a ShamWow. You don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really interesting that Bobby's saying like the helmet has kept him alive, and that's what helmets are designed to do. That's why we're supposed to use them. But I think in this case, it might have been a blessing if David Wallace had not been wearing a helmet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was also at this moment, as Bobby crosses around to come to David Wallace, that we see the bike sideways on the road behind him, complete with David Wallace's lower half of his body. Like the legs and the belt buckle are still sitting astride the bike, and there's just like intestines spilling out of his body onto the road.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
I'm just like, oh my god.
Yeah, it's bad.
Yeah, that's slightly more graphic than usual.
And I don't know whether that was just because I think it was quick when it happened in the scene, but because the way I watch this when we're doing it for the podcast is I watch a couple of seconds, then I pause, and it just happened to pause on
Oh
a
no!
shot where the bike was completely its center of the screen, and like, oh my god, his legs.
Ew.
So Bobby, this is why I ate dinner before I watched this episode. Bobby crouches over David Wallace, who's like, he's very much in shock. He keeps asking for the time, saying he has to go home. His wife's going to lose it because he's so late. Ethan, who's his son, is probably still outside waiting for him to ride up. Like, how long can you get me out of here?
Yeah, it's like, when can you get me out of him? Like, sir, you're not going anywhere.
Yeah,
Like, they just want to keep him comfortable.
You're not walking away from this.
I mean,
Ba-dum-bum.
So, but like they give him oxygen, they tell him to relax, and we hear a phone buzzing. So Bobby's like, oh, is that your phone? Like, let me grab it. Holds it to Kenny's ear, and it's his son asking where his dad is. And it's very lucky that he had it in his front pocket, not his pants pocket.
oh yeah.
Oh, good lord.
Because otherwise they would not have heard it.
Well, they might have heard it, but could you imagine, like...
Oh, yeah, hang on, let
Yeah.
me just go grab your legs.
Dib's not it being the one that has to go dig my hands into this guy's back pockets.
So David Wallace, like, apologizes and tells him he's trying to get home, and just, like, tells him all about the bike.
Without
And,
actually naming what kind of bike it is, though.
Yeah.
It's red. Just
It's
like
red.
the one that they looked at. That was all that's important, that was red.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's a chick magnet, even though when we hear the kid's voice, it sounds like he's about 8.
Yeah, not the most appropriate thing, especially if he's still married to your mother.
Yeah.
Like, you don't want to hear about your dad being a chick magnet.
Mm.
But he tells Ethan that he was hauling us up Alameda like a Hell's Angel, and your old dad was like a new man.
And yeah, he said he felt on top of the world, but he would have felt the same on a 10-speed push bike because he knew he was coming home to his son.
And at this point, he's starting to shut down. His face kind of just goes still, and he sort of gets the stares, his eyes unfocus, and he stops talking for a long moment and then just very woodenly says, "I love you, son," and twitches a little bit, and he's gone.
Yeah, and Bobby is like having
Bobby
a panic
is
attack right now.
devastated.
He is like, he just has to get up and walk away and get out of there. He can't deal. So
He puts the phone down, and we can hear Ethan kind of calling for his dad, and one of the poor police officers who had been trying to comfort David Wallace has the unfortunate job of picking up the phone and going, "Ethan, hi, can you put your mum on the phone?"
yeah,
That's not a good conversation.
Worst part about being a police officer.
Yeah.
Well, maybe not the worst part, but a nasty part, a bad part.
Yeah.
Bobby gets the hell out of there and goes and sits on a curb nearby, and Athena sees him go, so she comes over to check on him to see if he's okay. And he apologizes. He's like almost in tears. He's saying that was unprofessional. I'm sorry. She reassures him. No one bats 1,000, and then she says, "This is like, when I'm on duty, this is who I need to be. But the second I walk through the door at night, through my door at night, I turn into a completely different person." And I was sort of like, how is that relevant to this situation? Like, you're comforting him for, being emotionally compromised by an event that's happened. Like,
by saying that you managed to hold it together until you get home, and that's when you fall apart.
This is a weird thing to say.
It's the whole, we need to hit the episode title in every single storyline.
But also, I'm pretty sure Bobby's a fire captain. He's been doing this for like a long time. I'm pretty sure he knows that everyone holds it together until they get home. This is not his first day. He's not a probie.
Yeah.
But she does say, is there anything I can do to help you with this? And Bobby just looks at her like, with the biggest hard eyes. He's like looking at her like, well, yes, in fact. And I was like, is he like coming onto her or something? Like, what is going on here?
Yeah, but it's a very Bobby Nash version of coming onto her, because he asks if she'll go somewhere with him. And we'll find out a little bit later where that somewhere is.
Yeah.
But first we have to check back in with Buck, who storms into the firehouse to find Chim sitting on a couch with a laptop on his lap, and he's blowing bubbles, and he just looks like he's having the best day. Buck's not. And he storms up and he goes, "Hey, yo, Reba, this is you, right? You're the one putting these girls up to coming in and messing with me. You think you're so funny."
So hang on, how many nicknames does Chimney need? Because, so his name is Howard.
Spoiler alert, Ellen, his name is Howard Hahn.
Yeah.
Have we not, do we not know that yet?
No, we
don't know that yet.
But I did know
there
that.
you go.
No.
So his name is Howard. He gets called Howie, which then somehow gets turned into Chimney. Then that gets turned into Chim, and now he's also Reba.
Well, I think that's Buck just being angry at him, because we never hear anybody ever say that to him ever again.
It's so funny, because it's like how, like, it just reminded me how, like, I've got dogs, obviously, and, like, the dogs never get called their actual name. And they just get more and more convoluted until, like, their name now, like, that they get called is nowhere near related to their actual name. Like, I have a dog named Phoenix, and his usual name is Beans.
Beans.
Yeah, that's...
Beans.
Oh, beans.
Yeah. Like baked beans, but beans. Yeah. Nothing like his original name.
I mean, I usually just call my cat Dumbass all the time, so, it's true. He's orange, so I'll give him a break too.
Chim doesn't seem too put out by being called Rebar. I think he's just enjoying this moment too much that he overlooks it, because
Oh, absolutely.
he's not the one who's doing this, but he has figured out what's going on. And he very gleefully tells Buck that, well, maybe if you had changed the relationship status on your MySpace profile, this wouldn't have happened. And Buck's just like, who the fuck uses MySpace these days? Jim goes, apparently you. And shows Buck his MySpace page, which Buck did not create.
I feel like these beautiful young women would not be using MySpace to...
Not in this day and
Hook up
age,
with
no.
people. Like, this is
No.
only 2018. It's not like, 2000 or,
Yeah, MySpace is dead.
It would make more sense if Chim had found his, oh my god, I can't remember what their dating profile, their dating site is called. Romance in the Uniform?
The Romance in the Uniform.
Yeah.
But then that's just for first responders. But yeah, like if he'd had like a
Tatiana
Bumble
wasn't a
or
first responder. So the women can...
Yeah.
Oh, that's true. But yeah, MySpace is just a really weird flex to be...
It is,
Yeah, it's such a weird decision.
So, long story short, some guys saw Buck on the news and decided to use Buck's B-movie star good looks to catfish the women of LA.
Mm-hmm.
And so apparently Buck's a Yankees fan who loves Star Wars.
No. Star Wars prequels. That makes it worse. And Chim just loves the... He's having the best time. And we get kind of a throwback to sort of pre-Rebar Chim, because he doesn't understand why Buck is having such a problem with this, because as far as he's concerned, this catfish guy is doing like the legwork for Buck. He's finding these women, he's reeling them in, and then they're just showing up at Buck's door. Like, is it really so awful what's going on?
Yeah, because
like,
apparently
yes!
another one came in and told Chim what was going on, and that's how Chim
Which
found
is
the
how
profile.
Chim's worked out one. But Buck is like, no, but it's now affecting Abby.
Yeah, which isn't okay.
Like, which isn't okay.
Oh, he's so sweet about it.
But so they need to make it stop. And Chim says he's already on it because he was talking to the girl that came in earlier, whose name is Brandy, and he's invited her to his game night kind of watch party, and Buck is not allowed to come so that Chim
that'd
can
be
have
awkward.
this girl all
Yeah.
to himself. But she showed Chim the emails that she'd been exchanging with Evan Buckley, and says that they can use the IP address at the top of the email header to locate the catfish guy. And Chim, that's not how it works.
It's not how any of this works.
Nope. You might be able to find out who his internet provider is, and you could probably subpoena them for his records, but there's no way that you can just type in someone's IP address into anywhere, probably not even on the darknet, and get an immediate "this is where they're living."
Yeah, you can get within a few blocks maybe if you're lucky, but
I'm pretty sure emails also don't actually have an IP address, but I'm going to go check that right now.
I mean, they fuck up medical stuff all the time. Are we surprised that they can't even get the computer stuff right?
True.
it makes a good story, I guess.
Yeah, I guess they needed to find this guy somehow. And that seems like the most quote-unquote logical way to do it.
Without having to wait like weeks for the red
4 to
tape
6 weeks.
to wade through that.
Oh, Lord, could you imagine what would have happened if they'd had to wait 4 to 6 weeks?
Yeah, well,
Oh no.
this guy would have been bones on the floor. I don't know.
So while the dynamic duo are off doing this, we cut back to see where Bobby has taken Athena, and he has taken her to church. But not in the Hosier style. Like, he's literally taken
They're
her
literally
to
in
his
church.
church.
Yeah, literally just
They're
in
literally
church.
at church.
For now.
Now he explains to Athena that he comes, 3 or 4 times a week to pray and find quiet.
To keep himself out of trouble.
Yeah. And Athena asks if praying it away can work. And Bobby says, oh, it works for me most of the time.
I do love that Bobby asks if Athena goes to church, and she says every Sunday, but she's Baptist. So she doesn't go to church, she does church.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, Bobby's just got Catholic guilt.
Oh, yeah. So they kind of have a little bonding moment where they both realise that nobody outside of police and fire can really understand what it's like doing this job. And they sort of commiserate with each other. Bobby says that he walks into a room and the first thing he does is look around for something that he can use as a splint. Athena says she walks into a room, she's looking for a gun.
Mm-hmm.
And they kind of bond a little bit over that. And Bobby asks if Athena would pray with him. And she says yes. And so they bow their heads in prayer.
Yeah, it's really sweet.
So then we go back to Dumb and Dumber, who have managed to track down the catfish guy at his trailer park.
Yeah, at his exact address, which is very impressive.
Yeah, they find the actual individual trailer as well.
Yes.
They knock, like Buck is going in guns blazing, metaphorically, banging on the door and telling him the jig is up.
Even yelling that it's LAFD.
Yeah, he pulls rank.
This guy's a criminal. But they can't get any response, so they kind of look in the windows a little bit, and then there's a load of flies on the inside.
Yeah, so Chim thinks that he's blacked out all the windows.
Yeah.
And it's not blacked out all the windows, it's flies.
It's the flies are so thick on the window that it's blacked them out.
It's gross.
And he just, when he realizes the flies, he just goes, "Oh, this is not going to be pretty," and it's not.
It's not.
No, it's not. They did find the catfish guy. He is dead, very, very dead, and starting to decompose, and he is covered in maggots.
He's like the deadest guy we've seen on this episode, and we just saw a guy ripped in half. Like he's very dead.
Yeah.
Apparently he has been there. The coroner estimates that he's been dead for 10 days, and nobody noticed. Which honestly, that's my worst fear at the moment. That something will happen to me and no one will find me for a couple of days.
It's fine. We're in a capitalist society. Someone will notice when you don't show up to work.
Well, yeah, but like before a couple of weeks ago, I wasn't working. So there were whole days when I did not leave the house. I didn't have the kids with me. There was no reason for me to leave the house. So there was a real possibility that nobody would notice if I just wasn't there, and my kids would have to come home and find me.
Yeah, that's
like to the point where I've now, like, one of our friends in our group chat has been tasked with checking in on me, and if I don't show up in the group chat for a day or two, she has my details. She can call the police to come do a welfare check on me.
Aww.
I mean, yes, now I have a job, so yes, someone will notice if I don't show up, but
yeah,
it's still
scary.
It's still a fear.
Absolutely. Like because I also live alone, and like the dogs aren't going to care. But considering I call my best friend like every day, I feel like she'd definitely notice. Because she'd be like,
she'd notice.
Why hasn't she called me today? Like, I'll go a day without calling, and the next day she's like, I missed you. Where were you? And I'm like, sorry, I was asleep.
Yes.
But yeah, it's awful. This poor guy.
Yeah. We find out that he is a bit of a shut-in. Nobody has seen him for 2 years, so that's why it was possible that he went for nearly 2 weeks with no one noticing that he was dead. We get a wide shot of the caravan, and Chim and Buck are standing there with like respirators over their nose and mouth, because I'm sure the guy smells terrible. There are 2 guys in like hazmat suits who I'm guessing are coroner, sort of investigating the scene, and the guy is sort of in the little walkway between rooms in his trailer, and he's massive. He's swollen and bloated, and he's huge.
I don't even think we see his face properly.
We get a shot.
Only like his sort of facial hair and a little bit, but not a lot. He's not wearing anything. Or
it's just bloat.
Maybe he's wearing... He's been hanging out in his
I think
pants, you know.
He's got boxers on. like his boxes, and the coroner's like palpating the belly, and it's like squishing and gurgling. And
yeah, this whole scene is so gross. The coroner says they don't get a lot of cases that bloat that much, so
which I didn't realize the first time I watched it that it was bloat. I thought that this guy was like morbidly obese.
yeah.
Yeah,
It wasn't until the coroner said that I went, oh, he's not supposed to look like that.
Yeah.
He's twice the size
That's even worse.
that he was when he died.
And Buck's empathy's kind of kicked in at this point, and he's starting to feel sorry for this guy. And Chim's really questioning why. He says that like this guy was an online predator, and Buck's like, but no, he hated himself so much that he had to pretend to be a whole nother person. Like, isn't that sad? Chim's like, I don't care.
Chim's like, I just want to leave.
Yeah. So the coroner's kind of questioning how they're going to get this guy out of the caravan, because he's at the current state, he is too big to go out the door in a body bag. He's just physically not going to fit. So he's like, we can knock down the caravan wall, or we can drive the caravan down to the morgue. And Buck's like, no, we're going to get him in a body bag and into the ambulance. He may not have had a lot of dignity when he was alive, but he deserves a little bit of dignity now, and because he's seen all the people standing outside with their cameras and police are trying to hold them back.
Yeah.
That's when the coroner just kind of says, look, he's dead. He doesn't care.
Yeah, and Chim's like, listen, like, he sort of squares up, like he looks like he's gonna kick off with this guy, and the coroner's kind of taking a step back, looks a bit concerned, but Buck reaches around him and grabs like some kind of a spike thing off the bench behind him. I don't know, it wasn't a knife, it was just like I don't even know what it was.
It wasn't a knife, but it looked like kind of like ice pickish.
Yeah, it was like a skewer, it was almost like a meat, you know, the little spike that's on a meat thermometer, like that kind of thing, like a metal spike.
It's not something that should have been in that kitchen.
Yeah, strange.
It's very out of
place. But anyway, he takes it and reaches down and stabs the guy in his huge gut, and it makes this horrible noise, and this stuff like splurts everywhere. And everyone...
Yeah, just get fluid everywhere.
And everyone's like,
this guy is filled with decomposition fluids as his body's been liquefying on the inside, as well as the methane gas that's been building up as a byproduct of the decomposition. So the decomposition, the liquefied guts and stuff is just starting to pour out of him, and then the methane is escaping as well. So it smells terrible.
But it's not enough of it to actually make a difference in the size of him. And Buck's like, I thought he was going to pop. And the coroner says,
Buck,
I told you
like,
it's going to take time.
What did you think was going to happen?
He thought it was going to pop.
I mean, but imagine if you had a balloon and the balloon was like full of glitter, and you like popped the balloon. The force of the explosion is going to send the glitter flying.
Yeah.
So imagine if it actually, if this guy's belly actually popped, they are going to get covered head to toe in like liquefied internal organs. Ugh. I don't know how that is the best option.
No, I don't think
Buck is really pretty. He does not need to be smart.
It's going back to like episode 1 Buck. I'm going to race in with the axe, and I'm going to start chopping this pipe open without thinking the consequences.
He hasn't done that for a while, actually, rushed in without thinking.
Which takes me back to my point of, I think that the showrunners had like this idea of the storyline and of the characters, and then the writer's room took them in a different direction or didn't follow the showrunners, and they've just gone, no, we're going back to square one.
Yeah, we're going
back to man whore, absolute idiot Buck.
Yeah.
Despite all of the character growth he has done over the past 9 episodes.
You know the real tragedy here, though?
What's that?
Buck was in a really nice jacket. And that jacket is just done for.
Yeah, I don't think he'll be wearing that one again.
Never.
It's covered in
It's going
stuff.
straight in the incinerator.
Yeah, so draining him is going to take time, but Buck says, you got dinner reservations? So they start doing it, and it's gross. And Chimney the whole time is just like, oh my God, oh no, oh yuck.
It's getting to Buck too, but he's being really strong about it. He's not saying anything. And it's night has fallen, and they're sort of looking at this guy who has deflated quite a lot, and they're checking with the coroner, going, "Do you think it's done?" He's like, yeah, I think so." But then that little puncture mark that the Buck made, there's just fluid just starts geysering out of it.
It's
I don't know why they
gross.
didn't
They're
like
not
cover
done.
it or
And-
like put a tube in it or something. Like, oh,
And what's worse is, like, the first fluid that came out was like this lime green, and this one is brown.
it's so
It's
gross.
just,
I mean,
so they're not
in
done.
a way, I'm like, okay, have we got any mortuary people listening? Can you tell us if this is what really happens? But on the other hand, I don't want to know what really happened.
No.
I think the point is that the coroner was saying that in order to drain him, they would have to start the embalming process. So I don't know if the coroners would necessarily be up to speed on mortuary processes. They're more just like, we're going to, get the dead bodies, we're going to take them to the morgue, we might get the medical examiner to do an autopsy, but we're not going to do the embalming process.
Yeah.
So I'm actually surprised that they have the equipment to do the embalming process in situ. But then again, like, these are the people that are going to give like blood clot medication to people without even deciding that they've got an actual blood clot. So why do we think they know what they're talking about?
Eventually they do get him in a body bag, and they clear a path through the crowd to get the guy to the ambulance so they can take him away.
With lights and sirens going. Why?
Yeah.
The dude's dead.
Maybe just
There's no emergency anymore.
Maybe just to get through the crowd or something. I don't know. But yes, there's no emergency.
No.
As I said, he's the deadest dead guy in this entire episode.
Extremely
so
dead.
dead.
He's like 200% dead.
And the coroner just kind of leaves in, like, when Buck thanks him, he just goes, yeah, and leaves. He's had enough of it. But Jim says, nice job, Buck, you did good. So
Yeah.
I think the coroner is very definitely that kind of person that he's in coronial sciences because he's not a people person.
Yeah.
He does way better with dead people than he ever does with alive people.
yeah, and also Buck and Jim just came in and like took over and did some stupid shit in his case. So he's
the
I
dumbest
can imagine
shit.
he is just over the whole thing.
So then Buck goes to Abby's in order to tell her the story, and I really hope he showered before he went
Oh
over.
yeah. Is he wearing the same clothes? I didn't even check. Hopefully not.
I didn't even check, but I really hope that those went in the incinerator.
Yep.
So he's telling her about this guy who was like catfishing these women, and the dude died, and that's why the girls thought that they were getting ghosted, which, I mean, they were kind of getting ghosted.
Yep,
like,
literally ghosted. Yeah.
Yep.
And he's so desperate for Abby to believe this story and believe that Buck he was not capable of treating these women the way that she thinks that he was treating them. And there's just like his whole body sags with relief when Abby says that she believes him. My heart broke for Buck. Poor dude.
Yeah. And he says, do you believe me? She's like, yes, I believe you. And she's relieved because she was feeling a little bit crazy. And he's like, well, it's a crazy story. But
He moves to come sit next to her on the couch, but then something over her shoulder catches his eye, and he sees that she has suitcases out on her bed. And kind of asks, are you going somewhere? And she kind of, Abby has this look on her face where she's like a little bit like cautiously optimistic. She's a little bit happy about this. She's like, yeah, I bought a plane ticket to Dublin. Buck's like, Dublin, Ireland? Which I was like, what other kind of Dublin could you be talking about? But apparently there's a Dublin in Ohio. So it's a legitimate question. He really does have to check.
I mean, there's European place names all over America, so you can never be sure unless you say the name of the country.
Australia too, to be fair.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I just love that, you can be an American and go like, I'm going to Paris for the weekend, and they mean they're going to Texas, not to Europe.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Abby's going to Dublin, as in Ireland, for a few months.
Yeah, she might stay for a while.
Partly for Patricia, because she wanted to go and never went, but also because Abby feels lost and needs to find herself again. And this part just sucks.
Yeah.
It just reminded me of that Bluey episode where they were like, why did you need to go to India to find yourself? You're right here. Anyway.
She does give Buck some credit. She says that she thinks that he's gotten her at least halfway to being the person that she wants to be, but she has to go and find the rest of her to make sure that because she wants to do her job properly. She wants to care about the people that she's helping. She wants to care about her friends and her family, and she can't do that. She feels like she doesn't have anything left to give, and she needs to find that something to give. And Buck is just absolutely devastated, and his eyes are full of tears.
Yeah.
But he says the right thing. He says, I am excited for you almost as much as I am sad for me.
Oh, bless him.
Breaking my heart.
And
Do you
I
need
think
me to call
it's wonderful.
000?
Oh, I just think it's really wonderful that they don't try to make Buck beg her to stay, or try to talk her out of it, or try to convince her that he should go with her. He has grown so much that he hears what she's saying and he accepts it.
Yeah.
He's like, okay, I hear that you need to go. I am going to let you go, even though it's gonna suck for me.
Yeah.
But this is what you need to do, and I love you, so I'm gonna let you go.
He's growing up so much.
Yeah.
See, I think that they wanted us to cry during that scene with David Wallace, but I was crying in this part.
Yeah, fuck David Wallace.
Eh.
We care about Buck.
We care about Buck, especially when Oliver is looking like that.
Yeah.
Oliver just looks like a kicked puppy.
He
Yeah.
does.
Poor little boy.
But we go back to the firehouse, and in the locker room, Bobby is looking very dapper, dressed up in a kind of dinner jacket, and he's doing a tie up, and Chim comes in and says, "Hey boss, I put you down for tacos." "Oh, this is not for game night." And Bobby says,
He's a little overdressed for game night.
I can't make it tonight. I have a date.
Chim's incredulous that the what quote unquote time capsule of a post on Romance in the Uniform actually worked, and Bobby just kind of chuckles and doesn't confirm nor deny.
Yep. And he says, are you going to have a little ER marathon followed by a little Montel Jordan as you move into the bedroom? Which is very 90s kind of throwback there.
Very.
Well, time capsule of a post.
Yep.
Bobby completely just ignores him, but does
Yep.
ask Chim how he looks, and Chim just tells him to lose the tie because he looks
Bobby's
like a
just
lawyer.
like, but no, I have to, like, Bobby's, like, everything Bobby has ever learned about dressing up and being, like, all of his fashion etiquette is, I have to wear a tie. And he just cannot accept that he is allowed to not wear a tie. But the whole, you look like a lawyer, like, Bobby's like, okay, fine, rips the tie off, undoes, like, the top button. And Chim's like, comes over, undoes the second button as well, and kind of fluffs his collar a little bit, show a little bit of the chest, and he's like, okay, that's perfect. Except Bobby's now completely uncomfortable.
Yeah, but he
he's so
looks
nervous.
great.
He does. He cleans up nice.
Yep. And he says Chim says he doesn't think he's ever seen him this nervous. And Bobby says that once you get out of your own way, you start to see everything and everyone in a whole new light.
Which is just a
Wink.
weird thing to
It
say.
is a weird thing to say.
And it's not like, I know sometimes the characters say weird things in order to, like, shoehorn in the theme of the episode, but that's not even on theme.
Well,
that's just
it's a whole
like
new
I guess
person.
it's
Ish.
no, I don't know. It's foreshadowing. They're trying to foreshadow something, but it's just
But it's a nonsensical
awkward.
thing to say in this situation, really.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense until kind of you watch it the second time around and you go, oh, that's what he meant. Which you shouldn't be writing shit that only makes sense in retrospect.
Yeah, well, Chim doesn't really mind. He just says, all right, have fun. As he's leaving, Bobby takes his little book of names out of his locker and he drops it in the bin on his way out.
Yeah, he kind of examines it, and we hear Shake It Off by Florence and the Machine starts playing, but specifically at the line where every demon wants their pound of flesh, which kind of is very fitting because that book of names was like Bobby's literal pound of flesh that he was paying back for karmic retribution for his actions. But yeah, he takes the book and he throws it in the bin as he walks out.
Yeah. So he's like cured.
Apparently.
No more depression for Bobby.
So basically, if you ever have suicidal ideation, you just need to go on a date.
With Athena.
And that'll fix you.
Athena will fix all of your problems.
Apparently. Because, yes, it's slightly out of order, but we do get Bobby at the restaurant at the end of the episode, waiting at a table. He sees his date walking towards him. He stands up, and it is Athena walking towards him. So, yeah, those hard eyes have paid off.
She looks amazing.
She looks amazing.
Like, absolutely would cure everyone of everything.
Yes.
I want her skincare secrets. I want her, diet. I want her gym workout. This woman is 60 years old.
Yeah. Amazing.
She looks freaking amazing. I'm just never going to get over that. But we get kind of a montage where we check in on everybody else in the 118 as Shake It Off keeps going. And we also get a voiceover from Abby to finish off the episode, where she's saying that she mentions a story she read about a woman who owned over 1,000 wigs. And she kind of marvels at the fact that with 1,000 wigs there were 1,000 different possibilities, 1,000 different people you could become, but it's impossible to become a different person. You can only be a better or worse version of the person that you already are.
Yeah.
And on that note, we see Hen standing at her front door welcoming Karen and I assume Denny, but Denny's not in this episode, but welcoming them back home.
Mm-hmm. And we also see the party at Chim's place. So there's a bunch of people watching the game there, and they're cheering at whatever's happening on the TV, but Chim sort of says hi to a girl, and we don't know if it's the same girl that was chatting to the old Evan.
I'm assuming that it's Brandy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then Abby and Buck are at the airport, and Buck says she says, are you going to come in with me? And
yeah, because they're walking towards the glass doors that lead them into international departures.
Yeah.
And just as they get there, before it triggers the doors to open, Buck stops. And Abby keeps walking a few steps before she turns around and realizes he's not coming with her. And she asks him, so you're not going to come in with me? And Buck says that he learned a while ago that you never go beyond the glass doors.
Another callback to the first episode.
But it's such a sad application of that rule, because the whole idea with Bobby telling him not to go through the glass doors at the hospital was because you don't get
to find out how it ends.
But you take the people up and you let them go.
Yeah.
I suppose it does work.
Yeah.
Because he's taking her to the doors and then he's letting her go. So it's actually a perfect application of that rule.
Oh.
And
it's a heartbreaker.
Abby says, I must be crazy leaving you behind. And Buck says, you're not leaving anything behind. You're moving towards something. And I'm going to be right here when you come back, okay?
Yeah.
And they kiss. And then Abby walks away, leaving Buck standing behind the glass doors.
Abby's voiceover continues, and she says that the only reward you get at the end of trying not to be who you were or witnessing someone else change into a person you barely recognize is being able to finally sit in front of another human wearing every single one of those 1,000 wigs and try again.
Yeah, I'm not sure that little sentence is worded very well, because I had to read it like several times before I even understood what it was talking about. I'm still not quite sure what it's talking about.
I think it's everyone is trying to become a new person because they don't like the old person, and it's basically saying that at the end of the day, the best thing is to find somebody who's going to love all the versions of you, warts and all. No matter what wig you're wearing, no matter who you're pretending to be, they see you, they know you, they love you.
Okay, I like that interpretation.
Yeah.
And that takes us to the end of season 1.
Yeah.
It does.
We made it.
Yeah, it's kind of a bittersweet ending to this season, because, I mean, some people, well, we can talk about this next week, but some of the characters are in a good place and some of them are sad.
It definitely,
Yeah.
like it wraps it up nicely, but also leaves a lot of openings.
Yes. So we mentioned before we started recording that Connie Britton, who plays Abby, only signed on for 1 season. And at the end of season 1, she chose not to renew her contract. So that's why this is the direction that Abby's storyline is taken, because they needed to find a way for her to exit gracefully.
Mm-hmm. And they didn't want to kill her off,
Yeah.
thank goodness, because that would have been extra sad.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
glad that they chose this way. Like, they left it very open.
I'm sure that there was, hey, Connie, if you ever want to come back, there will be a seat in the 911 dispatch there for you.
Yeah, definitely.
And it also gives them a little bit of room to move with Buck as well.
Yes. Well, I don't want to talk too much about the season because we're going to talk about it next week, but I enjoyed this episode probably more than the last few episodes that we watched, to be honest. This was a good wrap-up. And maybe it's because it was written by the same people who wrote the first few episodes, like we said earlier.
It was definitely a good bookend. Yeah.
It called back, like even with Abby doing her voiceovers, like we had in at least the first episode. So we started the whole season off with her speaking, and then we ended with her as well.
And we got that, like the 118 as a family vibe that we've been missing from some of these episodes.
Yeah.
So there were lots of group scenes, where they're making fun of Bobby, and then when they're making fun of Buck. So it was nice to see them all back in one scene together, all of them having lines, not just standing there, or being the audience's representative.
Yeah.
Well, next week we are going to do our season 1 wrap-up. Unfortunately, when you hear this, when this episode is published, it'll be already too late for people to send us their feedback for season 1, because we're going to record it before then.
Podcast magic.
But please send in your...
If you want to send in feedback, you can go ahead. We'd love to hear it still. You can send it to our email address, contact@thatwewishow.com, or you can put it in a comment on our website, or get in touch with us via social media. All of that information is on our website, thatwewishow.com. If you enjoyed all of our first season, please do go and leave us a review and a rating on your preferred listening device. We really appreciate everyone who does that, and it helps us to get the podcast out there for more people to listen to. So thank you for listening to this episode, and we'll catch you next week for our season 1 wrap-up. Bye.
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 911 is a fictional show, but many of the situations portrayed happen in the real world too. If any of the topics we've discussed in this episode have affected you, please know you're not alone. You can call or text numbers in your country for help. Just Google crisis support in your location to find out the number. If you enjoy our podcast, you can help us out by leaving us a review on Spotify or your preferred listening app, and by sharing our social media posts. Find out more at thatwewishow.com.